welcome to another edition of the Throwing Bagels Podcast. Kevin Mooney here with you alongside Chris Douglas. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
Hey, fantastic. And you, sir?
It's just a Monday.
It's just a Monday, but you're coming back from Canada. We got some things to talk about.
So
We're
going
to see that.
Montreal's a beautiful city.
Yes.
In so many ways.
Yes, it is. Jason Hamo on assignment. He will be back with us on our next podcast episode. But now we bring in yet another fantastic graduate of SUNY Oswego.
Where? I'm the only one in the room.
He is a man of many talents, wears many hats, reporter of Total Traffic Network, a reporter at Total Traffic Network, also owner of Port a Party DJ Service.
Careful with that.
Yeah, don't say that wrong.
Yeah.
It's actually funny when people do, though. I don't even mind.
Because you've heard it all before.
I have. But they don't forget the name, so it works.
Right. Organist and director of music at All Saints Episcopal Church in Fulton.
Right.
You know the name by now. You already know who he is. It's Jeff Wise. Hi, Jeff.
Oh, that's me. Hey.
Formerly Danger Boy on Hot 107.9, right?
Good gravy, yeah. Yes, sir.
A long time ago.
It'd be funny to walk through the halls and have coworkers say, "Hey, Danger," and you'd be like, "What?" No, everything's really fine. It's okay. It's just my name. But
so, Jeff, you're 20-ish years now as a traffic reporter at.
Yeah, I want to say we started that somewhere 2002, 2003-ish.
This was a big deal. Like, I remember because I was at SYR Radio, I think, when it rolled out.
Yes. But this was before the DOT had all their fancy traffic cameras perched up all over the highways.
Yeah.
We actually had to send a guy out in the roving traffic truck that we had.
Yes.
And that always got to be somewhat interesting. Because you do a live hit from them, they're like, "I'm stuck in traffic," and it's like, well, that's why we sent you out there. But I've still got some of those reels in archive, and there's some of them are pretty funny.
Sure, I mean, you got people parking on off ramps and on ramps and doing the traffic reports.
the stuff I always tell people that. I have to listen to a scanner 8 hours a day. And I always tell people, I said, if you think you're having a bad day, trust me when I tell you, I have heard sometime today somebody having a worse day than you.
What are like some of the worst episodes you've heard?
Oh, my. Well, a lot of it's stuff we can't say on the radio.
True. This is fair.
Or podcast or whatever medium we're at now. This was in the Binghamton Metro one time, if you even call it a metro. It's just
I was going to say metro.
Binghamton area. The subject was clearly on some sort of hallucinogen or something. And the call was, yes, we have so-and-so in Binghamton. They need you to come and check on her. She thinks she's a hologram. That is exactly how the call came over the scanner, and the two of us sitting in the traffic center just kind of looked at each other and said, "That's the scanner call of the day, right there."
There you go. Now, in the traffic control center, like, what markets do you serve?
Oh, geez, a whole lot of them. Most of New York State, except for basically anything north of Poughkeepsie is what we cover. And we don't do anything for the North Country because there's just not a lot of traffic up there to begin with. But all of Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, Albany, part of the Hudson Valley, Binghamton, and then we service like Sussex, New Jersey. We do reports for there. And this is just our little 7-person hub here.
That's crazy.
And then we do Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto in Canada.
This is all out of the Syracuse studios, or
we just input their traffic info. Somebody up in Canada does all the voicing, mainly because my French isn't too good.
I was going to say, is it coming over in French? Because that's all I saw this weekend.
Now, thankfully, if I have to input something for that location, I still remember enough of it where I'm okay. It's all voiced from up there.
We were talking off the air before we started that Jeff, you've been, so your Total Traffic Network is with iHeartMedia. You were with one of their sister stations, Hot 107.9, for quite a long time. Take us back, like what really stands out to you when you look back on your career as Danger Boy?
Oh, jeepers!
Hot 107.
That's kind of a blur. I mean, that was what, 28 years ago.
Oh man, we're old.
28 years ago. So now there was a lot of stuff that went on that we definitely can't talk about on this podcast.
Sure.
That was when you had to have somebody in a studio 24/7 most of the time. They still had automation back then, but it was all on reel-to-reel tape. There was a radio station up north where I grew up that had an automation system that had 5 reel-to-reels on it with like 20 songs on each one, and it would just rotate through them. And they had the cart machines on the machine, and it was all run by a little Commodore 64 computer that would tell it which source to go to next. Now they didn't have any of those here at the facility, so you had to have somebody in the booth, 24 hours a day. So I did a lot of overnight shifts, and when they moved us over to Bridgewater Place, I always knew my shift was almost over when the late great Joe Galuski would come in at 3:00 in the morning. I said, okay, only a few hours to go.
He's a legend, Joe Galuski.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
On SYR Radio, yeah. Generations of people started their mornings with Joe. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite memory from when you're back in the days of Danger Boy? Or?
Oh geez, there was just so much. It's hard to pick one. We did a lot of concerts. You'd get these up and coming artists. Looking back, one of the biggest mistakes I made is we had Taylor Swift come in once.
Oh wow.
I think she was 16, didn't have any hit records. Nobody knew who she was. And she went downstairs to B104.7, our country station that we have. And the music director, I forgot who it was at the time, sent out a notice saying, "Hey, artist coming in." And I was like, I've got too much work to get done. I'm not going to go down, and sure enough, here we are 27 years later. And now she's one of the biggest stars in the world. And I was like, now I really wish I'd gotten that picture. The same station hosted this bus trip to New York City. They take you down to New York on a bus. They let you run around Manhattan for a few hours, and you get back on the bus and come back to Syracuse. And they took us down there, and we're all walking around. We turn the corner in Manhattan, and coming the other direction is Bill Murray.
Oh man.
Just incognito, trench coat, fedora, doesn't want to be noticed, because that's how he works, is he just does whatever he wants. And he actually took the time to get a quick picture with us, and then he was like, "Oh, sorry, gotta go." And then before a crowd formed, he had to be on his way. But it was kind of neat that one of those radio events, and you don't see it now, but we used to have a lot of celebrities come in. One of the last ones before COVID that I remember was Jason Alexander from Seinfeld.
Oh wow!
I got a really good picture of that one in the WSYR studio, the former WSYR studio. Do you remember Gallagher, the comedian?
Yeah,
smashed the watermelons.
Yes.
Well, he was doing a show here, and for whatever reason, the tickets weren't selling great, and so whoever was on, it wasn't me, but whoever was on Hot 107.9 that weekend actually brought him in and let him be on the air like for the entire afternoon with them. And I was working in production or something. And I'm like, please don't smash any fruit in the hallway. We don't need a demonstration.
So let's switch gears here for a second.
All right.
Kevin had mentioned at the top here that you are the owner of Porta Party DJ Service. Right now, we are in prime time wedding season.
It is. It's also primetime prom season too.
That's true. So your schedule is pretty full, we're assuming here.
I've got one of each this weekend. Yeah.
Wow. So do you take priority one over the other, or just as they come, this is what we'll do, and so on?
Well, I mean, obviously first come, first serve. Whoever books first gets the date. And I only book one show a day because it's easier to juggle it that way.
When it comes to, let's say a bride and groom, they're planning their wedding, or someone's planning a prom party, what are some pointers you have for them when selecting a DJ for their upcoming event?
Well, I mean, you want to get somebody you're comfortable with. If you look out there, it's no secret that I'm a little more expensive than some of the other ones. So I always try to encourage people, if you shop by just price alone, you're going to get what you pay for. Uncle Bob, who has the 1980s CD player, if you want him to come DJ your wedding, you're probably going to fail miserably at how the day goes. I think you want somebody that's actually done a few weddings. That's kind of important. At least if when you're what I call a rookie, you generally train with somebody else before you go doing them on your own. And it helps if you hire somebody that's insured. I know that sounds petty, but you want to be protected on both sides. The other thing is some venues require it. The casino in Verona requires you to have an insurance policy, and they want a certificate if you're going to DJ out there. So, but I'll gladly print one up and send it to whoever needs it. So planning is also a big feature that you want your person to be able to do. I've actually got an online planning platform that clients can log into and enter all their information on. I still like to meet with them in person, but it cuts down on stuff we have to go over because it's already entered before we go through all the details. But that's good for like entering the wedding party names and where, when, who's the photographer, who's the banquet manager, phone numbers, just basic contact info, song requests. And some of those can be strange, but I'm not a fan of people picking out like 70 songs and saying play just what's on the list all night, because then you don't need me, you need an MP3 player. If you want to hire somebody that can read the room and play what's going to keep people going. Now, what I love the playlist for, because then you get an idea of what your client's into, of what style they like. It's like Bob Ross. You cater the musical palette to what they like and still keep the dance floor full. So it's kind of a win-win thing there. But if you don't know what you're doing and you play the same songs regardless, a quick example, this past weekend I did a wedding where the couple was an older couple. So most of the folks that were there were older. So you would cater to an older music genres. Now, this coming week, I've got a very young couple for their wedding. So you will typically skew it the other direction.
So basically you were playing 90s music last weekend, and this weekend is going to be, whatever the hottest trend is, like Taylor Swift.
Well, maybe. I have actually found the musical sweet spot that works regardless is early 2000s stuff.
Really? Interesting.
Like if they don't dance to Yeah by Usher, shut it off and go home. I mean, that is like the most popular and most played song at DJ gigs, at least according to the software company I use, is actually Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. That's the biggest song. That is the absolute biggest song on the dance floor right now.
And you hate the electric slide, right? You hate playing that?
I don't use it much.
Nice.
We've kind of graduated to the cha-cha slide, the Cupid shuffle, and the wobble song right now.
Mm.
Those three are more popular. I don't get requests for Marcia Griffiths anymore.
Or Macarena, that's out.
Well, sometimes once in a great while, but that I don't get a lot of requests for that one either. Those two have kind of, I don't want to say they've completely fizzled out, but they're definitely secondary now.
That's old. That's old stuff too. I mean, we're getting old, man. That's what's happening here.
I know.
So how about some DJ etiquette advice for wedding guests? Is there anything you would tell your guests, do's and don'ts?
Asking the DJ repeatedly for the same song will not get it played any faster. If the DJ says no, don't ask for the same song again, because they will say no again. If the dance floor is full and you request something and say, people will dance if you play this, and you point to the dance floor and there they are. Or I've had a full dance floor and people said, can you play something we can dance to? And I'm like,
right, man.
You see that?
Turn around.
We're doing it now. I guess I would say it's okay to ask for songs, but unfortunately, people will frequent the bar at the venue, and that kind of hinders judgment and etiquette and any other filters whatsoever. People get the liquor flowing, and they all become Peter Griffins, and no filter whatsoever. It's coming in here, it's coming out there. So,
what if I bribed you to play a song? How about that?
Wow. Wow.
I don't know if I've ever done that. Honestly.
Okay.
So no one's tried.
Once somebody tried, but the song was so bad I refused to take it.
Good.
And I remember what the song is.
And it escapes me what the song was, but it's what I would call a dance floor killer. It just would have ruined the night. And I said, your $20 ain't worth it. Sorry.
20, that's not enough.
No.
For our wedding, we actually had a do not playlist. It was very short. It was, you cannot play the electric slide and you cannot play the chicken dance.
Oh my God, the chicken dance.
That would have killed. It would have, forget it. So you can just call us old stodgy,
and
people, but we didn't want it played. So there you go.
I don't offer a do not playlist specifically. Well, you don't want your hands tied too much. Now, if they specifically in the notes say, please do not play the chicken dance, fine. But I don't, because I've seen on do not playlists every song that will get people to dance.
Oh, okay.
On the do not playlist. And you're like, well, what do you want me to do? So, I try to keep the restrictions minimal.
Yeah, sure.
But that's why you have a conversation with your client before the day and find out what their expectations are. And then, a lot of DJs don't do this, but I do. I tell them what my expectations are, how the day's going to go. Sometimes they'll have something on their schedule that's kind of wonky, and I'll say, well, why don't we do it this way instead, so that things flow a little bit better. It's a team effort. It's an event partnership. It's not just, you're not just a lowly vendor on some of these things. If it's viewed that way, it's probably not a client you want to take on in the first place. And usually you can tell that right away. The bridezillas per se.
Ooh.
You can tell right off the bat if you're going to have somebody that's going to be a control freak and overbearing and just on you constantly. And that's not it. It's better to just stay home that day.
That brings up a question. If you come across, let's say, a bridezilla, do you talk to other wedding DJs in the area and say, hey, steer away from this person?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Well, it's just like radio people. We all talk to each other. We all know the red flags in our profession. A lot of times that happens more with venues than with actual brides. because there's some venues that have really stupid rules. You can't do this. You have to bring it in this way, even though you could go take a direct route right across the banquet or the dance floor. There's one venue that makes you go all the way around back and up a ramp and through the bar into the banquet room instead of coming in the side door and going straight into the room because they're afraid you're going to mess up the tiled floor. And so, DJs talk about that. We're like, these guys are not somewhere you want to play.
Have you ever done a Greek wedding?
No, I have not.
I'm Greek, so I was just curious to know if there was like any guests that were very adamant about playlists, because that does happen in my experience going to Greek weddings.
No, but I did play a wedding where the bride was Thai and the groom was Italian.
That had to be pretty interesting.
It was great. The groom owns a pizza shop in Baldwinsville, and the bride's family used to own a Thai restaurant in Liverpool. And so that's how I met them. And it was, what did they call it? An Italian wedding or something like that is how they build it. It was a great time though. Everything went great. I mean, but there was a lot of, there was a lot of specific music from both families, but it works. You can always make it work.
When you're planning an event, how early should you reach out to the DJ?
If you're being serious, I would say like a year out.
Okay.
The calendar fills up pretty quickly. Now I've had emergency situations where I've just last year, it was actually, the wedding was on a Thursday in somebody's backyard. They had a tent set up, and for whatever reason, they hadn't thought about doing music. I don't judge, but they called me on Wednesday.
Oh no.
Oof. And said, would you be willing to come out and do this? It's in our backyard. It was a pretty well-to-do neighborhood. And I said, well, yes, but it's going to be full price. It's going to be this much. They said, okay.
Wow.
I said, what time do you want me to be there?
Of course.
and I went out there, and it was a great party, and we actually ended up doing an extra hour. I mean, the weather was kind of sketchy, so we had to dodge a few raindrops. But I always tell people that when they ask how soon they should book, I said, well, the sooner the better is always, so you can lock the date in.
And like you said, depending on the venue, like you have a venue and your DJ might say, well, that venue kind of stinks. I'm not going to do that. So,
right.
So yeah, make sure to just plan everything out as early as you can. Jeez. Yeah. So Jeff, let's put one of your other hats on. So you're, hold on. There we go.
New hat.
Put it on.
This is the director, organist, and director of music at All Saints Episcopal Church hat. That's the one.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. So, what led to your interest in playing the organ?
I've been playing since I was 13. Cool. And I didn't formally study the instrument. I kind of self-taught myself how to play. And, I've had this current job for the last 15 years. And up until just this May, I was the dean of the Syracuse chapter of the American Guild of Organists, which puts on a lot of organ recital based events in the central New York area. It's the king of the instruments. And you'll be interested to know that the two largest pipe organs in the world are not in churches.
I guess one is in Madison Square Garden.
No.
Oh, wow.
The largest pipe organ in the world is at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City.
Huh.
And it has over 30,000 pipes. And it's not all playable yet. They're in the process of restoring it, which will take a very long time.
Oh, wow.
Just to give you a comparison, the former organ that they just took out of the Washington National Cathedral was 10,000 pipes.
Wow.
So, and then the second largest instrument is at Macy's in Philadelphia. And it's called the Wanamaker organ. Because the store used to be Wanamaker's before it became Macy's. And that organ is on, is it 5 or 7 levels of the store? And they actually have a professional play concerts there every day.
That was a department store, Wanamaker's? And they just put an organ in a department store?
They did. And it's incredible. I think it's 7 keyboards.
Huh. And here I thought Philly sucked.
No, it's amazing what it can do.
I was trying to think of the venues that you would find organs, and I'm thinking churches, of course, higher education institutions,
Sure,
arenas, sporting event stadiums. Department stores was not on my list.
Well, I mean, you'll find electronic organs at stadiums and all,
sure,
all those types of places. But if you want a genuine pipe organ, the organ I play each week, I think it's about 1,000 pipes, but it's a smaller church.
Jeff, we've come across instances of churches closing, not just in central New York, but they're closing, here and there all over the country. I mean, what happens to the organs that are in these churches that close?
Well, there's 2 things. They can either sell it with the building, and then if another church comes in and buys the building, they can use the instrument. In some cases, they hire, there's an organ company, Kerner and Merchant in East Syracuse. When they decide they're going to close the church, that a company like that will come in and actually remove the instrument and find it a new home.
Huh. An organ transplant.
Yeah, literally. That's what happened here in Syracuse at the I know, right? Well,
such a terrible joke.
Yeah, but I've also heard when they rebuild instruments in churches and do fundraising, asking for organ donors too.
Oh, of course. God,
it all works.
Game show sound.
Get the Price is Right's losing horns sound effect.
Oh man.
Recently in Syracuse, they actually transferred a large pipe organ and restored it from, I think it was like the Society of Christian Scientists or something downtown. They put it in the Basilica on West Genesee Street, and it sounds like a brand new instrument now. So, it's a lot like a car. If you put new parts in it, you can make it last forever. They've got a theater organ in the state fairgrounds that's actually vintage 1928, a Wurlitzer, and it's actually got the original 1928 wiring on it.
Wow.
1 stop, 1 key, 1 pipe, 1 wire, and it all runs to the back. And a friend of mine actually showed me the guts of the instrument, and it's like spaghetti.
That's crazy.
By the way, let's see if you can hear this.
I don't know. Can we air that on the podcast? Is that going to cost us any money?
I doubt it. Right. It's generic.
Yeah,
it's generic.
I hired a tuba player.
Exactly.
There you go. The different sounds you can make with the pipe organ are amazing. Pipes come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and they're made out of wood and metal. Some are mounted horizontally and vertically. There's an awesome stop on a pipe organ called a trompette en chamade, which is a very loud trumpet sound. But the pipes are usually mounted on the back wall of the church, and they're pointed out.
Huh.
And when you hit those trumpets, everybody's awake.
Wake up, everyone. Wake up, town.
Seriously. Everyone, get up. It's church time. So you had mentioned the fair just a second ago here. It's basically county fair season now, too.
Yes.
So, of course, since you were the concession manager at the Jefferson County Fair, another hat that you wear.
Hold on. Okay.
Go get your hat. Yes, thank you. We'll ask you what your second favorite county fair is across New York.
Oh, my. Let's see. Well, yeah, besides my own.
Yes.
The Watertown one is my favorite because I put that one together. I helped put that one together. It's a team effort. I really like the Columbia County Fair in Chatham, New York.
I've been there.
It really has an old style county fair feel to it. They've even got like the strings of light bulbs strung through the whole fairgrounds, which is kind of gives you a rustic feel. And you're down in the Hudson Valley. It's really nice. On the other extreme is the Erie County Fair in Hamburg, in Buffalo, which is actually the largest fair in the state. The New York State Fair is not the largest fair in New York State. The Erie County Fair serves mainly the Buffalo metro, but they get a lot of people from Erie, Pennsylvania. A lot of people from Canada come to it, and it's just a wonderful fair. And it's huge, but it feels like a county fair. That's part of its charm. And plus, they have deep fried tacos there, which, if you have never had one, are outstanding.
Whoa! I've got to go out there and try it.
Sometimes that food joint comes here to Syracuse for the state fair. Sometimes it doesn't, based on the guy's schedule. But it's actually really, really good. You would think a deep fried taco would be like this awful greasy mess.
Sounds delicious.
But it's not. It's actually really tasty.
That sounds delicious. Wow. One of my favorite fairs growing up, I grew up in the Albany area. We used to go to the Scotticoke County Fair.
I love the Scotticoke Fair.
Oh, so great every year.
In fact, up until about 10 years ago, we had the same midway provider as the Scotticoke Fair. And they had to drop the Scotticoke Fair because they picked up the New Mexico State Fair. So I'm very familiar with. In fact, I actually went to it just this past year. It's like any other business or organization. People from all the different fairs. Every year we have a convention. It's now here in Syracuse. We're all part of the New York State Association of Agricultural Fairs, and we have a big convention where we all get together and talk about issues that affect all of our fairs. And we also book we meet with our midway providers, and we meet with our they have like a trade show there where you can book entertainment acts. The Scotticoke Fair is wonderful. I like the Washington County Fair also.
Washington County Fair
up on Greenwich.
Yes.
That's the third largest county fair in the state. The top three would be Erie County is number one, Dutchess County is number two down in Rhinebeck, and the third is Washington County up in Greenwich.
Interesting.
And I don't know how they rank after that, but
how did you get into the fair business?
I just always liked the amusement industry, even as a little kid growing up, and I've just kind of stuck with it. Our former fair manager in Watertown kind of tricked me into getting on the board up there. I always like to tell this story. She asked me one day, she's like, well, because I was just a volunteer. So she's like, well, how would you like to help me out in the office? I said, okay, that's fine. Well, she says, well, come to this fair board meeting on such and such a date. Okay. So I go to the meeting and they go through the regular business. And then all of a sudden she's like, yeah, I'd like to nominate Jeff Wise, assistant fair manager. That was the first time I had heard about this. I gladly accepted, but it was kind of a surprise. And then, 22 years later, here we are. And actually the Jefferson County Fair is the longest continuously operating fair in the country.
Really?
This is our 207th year coming up in July.
How about that?
207 years.
207.
Do you have any fairs that you've been to outside of New York State that you really enjoyed?
The Florida State Fair in Tampa is nice. I like the Bloomsburg Fair in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And actually just up the road from there is a great amusement park called Knoebels. It's about 3 hours and change away from here. And it's free admission, free parking. You go into the park and then they sell like a fair. They sell ride tickets.
Oh, okay.
But they've got like 3 roller coasters. I mean, it's a good size. It's a good size park, but it's in the middle of the woods, and it's one of our favorites. My kids and I, we try to make it down there at least once a year. Other fairs, I'm trying to think outside the state because I don't get a chance to leave the state too much. I think those would be the ones that stick out in my mind.
And Jeff, you're involved with the New York State Fair in one way, in that you're part of what is it, the model train exhibit?
Well, we have them at the New York State Fair in the what's the building's name? Art and Home Center. This group I belong to, we have a circus and carnival model display that we set up in the bistro room every year. And it's been pretty popular since, I think we've been doing it since 1998, and it gets a lot of people in there. And I also set that exhibit up at the fair in Watertown every year too.
That's one of my stops every time I'm at the fair is to go through there and check it out. Yeah.
Mine's usually on the left corner in the front of the room as you walk in the door. You can't miss it.
It's got the tilt-a-whirl in it, right?
There's a tilt-a-whirl in there.
Nice.
Basically every ride you can think of is on the display.
Jeff, let's talk about let's visit your Oswego days. Let's go back in the DeLorean.
Oh no!
And go back to high school. Let's go back to Jeff Weiss in high school.
Let's not go back that far.
Okay.
Let's not go back that far.
Well, what led to your interest in broadcasting, Jeff, and then your decision to attend Oswego?
Well, when I was 12, I asked, because I used to love to listen to Jay Donovan on 790 WTNY in Watertown. Hilarious show. I probably shouldn't have been listening to it because I was too young. But anyway, one time I asked, could I come down and watch you do the show? And so he said, sure. And then this became kind of a regular thing. They'd let me just come down and hang out in the studio while they did the show. And I can tell you, and you know, Kevin, you can attest to this, that sometimes the things that happen when the mic is off are funnier than what happens when the mic is on. And I was just enthralled with how things operated. And so I really wanted to do that. And so I was, working radio in Watertown through my last 2 years of high school. And I went to college up there at the community college for the first 2 years. So I still did radio then as well, still part-time. And then I transferred to Oswego and ended up on the 3-year plan to finish there. Thanks to radio, I probably spent too much time at the studio in Syracuse and not enough time doing my college work that I was supposed to do. Ended up taking broadcast law twice.
Who didn't?
Well, that was a hard and it's funny when I had to take what was it to get back in. You had to, like, they let you take a couple classes and then they decide whether you're going to go back in full time. And so one of the ones I retook right away was broadcast law. And I missed the entry grade by like 0.1 or 2. And I fired an email back to the dean there. I said, listen, broadcast law is the toughest course in the curriculum. He's like, okay, fine, you're back in. And I think it was worded just like that. And then I went through and, graduated like I should have in the first place. But, it's what radio does to you. I know a lot of colleagues in the business that just never went back. So I feel happy that I at least finished my degree there, which I'm still paying off, by the way. It's just the student loan services show no mercy.
No.
But I figure by the time both of my kids have graduated high school in the next year and a half, I will have my student loans paid off. So small victories there.
Yes, for sure. Do you have any clubs or media outlets that you were a part of while you were a student?
I did the college station. I wasn't overly popular there because I knew what I was doing and they didn't.
You were already a seasoned professional.
That's right.
Yeah. And
right.
They were trying to tell me how to do my show. And I'm like, okay, no. I'm like, I'll just go off and do the real thing. And I did do, I dabbled as the weather guy on the TV station.
That's great.
And this was funny because, the news director at the time, he hated it when I changed his weather graphics.
Did you do it purposely?
Well, I tried to make it look better, and it did. But he was like, "Don't change the weather graphics," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to change the weather graphics. Fire me. Go ahead. I'm not getting paid for this." But it was funny because Kevin, Maria.
Sure, Maria Leaf.
Maria Leaf and I ended up working at radio together and I think you might have been there at the same time. Maybe. I can't remember. It's all a blur now.
It is a blur.
But anyway, so we would both at that point try to do things to irritate the news director because she had a lot of talent at the time too. And we treated it as a professional broadcast at that point. And the notes from the news director were always funny. But that's how you cut your chops to get into the business.
So one final question before we get you out of here. We always end on this note with our fellow alum, I should say. So Kevin, Jason, and I, we all were very much into the chicken patty sandwich. Is the chicken patty sandwich something that you enjoyed also in the dining hall at Oswego?
Well, I'm glad you saved this to the end of the interview. I never had one.
Wow. I think that's only the second person.
I didn't spend a lot of time in the dining hall.
That's
At that point, I was running off to Syracuse to do radio. And, by the time I graduated, I was living down here in an apartment.
Yeah, fair enough.
So now don't get me wrong. I'm always game for a good chicken patty sandwich. Who knows if they even still have them there?
Oh, they do.
They do. Kevin checked.
Oh, yeah.
He dabbled.
They're still just as good now as they were back then.
Well, that's good. It means there's some sort of processed something or other, and probably not even chicken, but that's okay.
It's
the best. That's the best stuff.
Do they bake them now instead of deep frying, Kevin? Did you get to the bottom of that? Or?
That I can't answer.
Okay.
But
funny chicken story before we wrap this up. I was in the drive-through line for a certain chicken place that rhymes with KFC. And I swear to you that the person in front of me, not only could they not roll their window down, they couldn't decide what they wanted. I said, "It's KFC. They have chicken."
Right.
And they took 10 minutes to order, and it was driving me nuts. I really could have used just a chicken patty at that point because I was so frustrated. But
yeah, that reminds me of John Pinette.
Yes,
comedian.
Yes.
That's
I know. That's what I was.
Get
That's
out
what
of
I
the
was
line.
thinking. Get out of the line. Do you want chicken or chicken? Oh my goodness.
As he would say that how KFC would include salt packets with the
Salt
chicken.
packet. This needs salt.
Yeah. One of my favorite comedians of all time, John
Me
Pinette.
too. I love it.
Oh my God, he's so funny.
I regret that I never got to see him perform in person.
We were lucky enough to see him, I think his last appearance in Syracuse, the Kraus-Heinz Theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then he was due at the Turning Stone or somewhere else. And then he had to postpone it. And he postponed it again. And then he tragically passed away after that. But
yeah, that was too bad. No,
so funny.
The stuff still pops up on my feeds all the time. And it's still hilarious.
It is. Oh, man. But
so now I have to go to Oswego and I have to get myself a chicken patty.
Yeah. Or stop by the sub shop and grab yourself a cheeseburger sub.
There's that too.
Do that. We're gonna hold you to it though, Jeff. We know where you are. We're local, so we're gonna take you up.
Listen. Next time if we do this again and you're desperate for a guest,
hey,
the real guest couldn't make it.
Yeah, all right. We're gonna do that. We're gonna go to Cooper Hall and we're gonna have some chicken patties. Okay.
All right.
And
I think we'll broadcast this on the air live.
Live hit. That's right.
Live hit from Cooper, and chicken patties for everybody.
Chicken patty. Jeff's gonna spin some Usher.
I'll play Usher.
That's right.
I'll play Usher on the pipe organ.
Can you actually play Usher on the pipe organ? Have you tried that?
No, but if you have the right notes, you can play anything.
This sounds like maybe a YouTube entry for
Think
Throwing
so.
Bagels on our
Think
Throwing
so.
Bagels YouTube channel. Jeff Wise plays
One of my
Usher.
one of my colleagues, I forgot what, I think it was like May 4th fell on like Easter or something. And so at the end of the service, they played the throne room scene from A New Hope while everybody was out.
That's fantastic.
And I said, and now this coming 2025, May 4th is on a Sunday. So I'm working on my John Williams already.
There you go.
There you
Excellent.
go. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. This was a blast.
This was fun.
And wish you, continued good luck this summer with your busy schedule and all the weddings and proms and county fairs. You're a busy guy. So
I know. Well, it helps pay some of the bills, so it's good.
And that was the man of many hats, reporter at Total Traffic Network, owner of Port a Party DJ service, organist and director of music at All Saints Episcopal Church in Fulton, and fellow Oswego grad, Jeff Wise.
I don't
know was fun.
He juggles all that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And was it like 4 jobs there you just rattled off?
4 jobs. And Jeff said, we were talking to him after the interview, and he mentioned, they all fortunately don't overlap that much. So that's how he's able to keep his head above water.
Yeah, that's his saving grace.
Yeah.
And he was correct when he said sometimes the off the air show is better than on the air show, because you can't bring some of that stuff onto the air.
No, you can't.
It's good stuff.
As a producer of many a talk show, I can vouch that the stuff that I received through my headset from the host that absolutely will never make it to air. That was the show right there.
That's it. It's your own personal show. You're getting a personal show from me. That's right. Always
so
fun.
We mentioned, Chris, at the top of the podcast that you had quite the weekend in Montreal. And, how did that go?
Throwing Bagels went international.
Nice.
Evan. We went to Montreal. My son and I went to Montreal. We saw the Grand Prix of Canada, F1 race up there. If you have never been to any sort of race as far as auto racing is concerned, you should make F1 the priority. The noise, the speed, the excitement, it's not like anything I've ever experienced before. And I've been to the World Cup. So it's like next level amazing. So we went to the race on Sunday, and there was over 100,000 people there, as is always the case on Sunday race. Max Verstappen did end up winning. That's my son's favorite driver. He was very excited about that. I'm going to do a blog about this tomorrow, which is Thursday. It will be released and it'll be on our website for everyone to enjoy. I'm gonna give a whole bunch of feedback on if you decide to go and what to do, what don't do, what you shouldn't do, and things you should absolutely do. The Fan Fest was phenomenal. There was DJs, there was music, there was all kinds of stuff. Kid friendly, just amazing atmosphere. And the cars, like Kevin, I can't even describe to you how fast these things were going. We were next to the fence from where the track was. And I don't know, maybe 20 feet, not even 20 feet. And you can feel the ground vibrating when these things went by. 220 miles an hour. That's insanity. And before that, they do races for, there's like a Porsche series race and there's a Ferrari series race. And, when we got there in the morning, they were running the Porsches and they were going like, I don't know, 120, 130 maybe. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And yeah, then by the time the F1 cars came, I was just like, what? It's like a blur. Like you could just barely see him go by and it's like, holy crap, man. So I will be writing a lot about this in the blog coming up on Thursday. I hope you all enjoy it. It's just so awesome. Montreal's a cool city. Everyone speaks both French and English. So if you don't know French, it's okay. You know English.
I mean, you know, they'll talk about you behind your back, but that's right.
That's right. Oh, the Americans again. They come up here for the F1 race. And that's it. And they don't do very well.
The poutine was good, I hear.
Poutine. Oh, Kevin. By the way, and that's something I'll be writing about as well in the blog is the food selections. I mean, you can literally have anything you wanted. There's every type of food you can possibly imagine at this place. And we did get the poutine. The poutine was just excellent. So can't go wrong. But maybe bring your own food when you go. Just a little advice.
A little pricey.
A little pricey at the F1 race. Little pricey.
That's good advice, Chris. And we can't wait until your blog comes out tomorrow. So
can't wait to write it. It's gonna be
stay tuned.
I'll be very excited writing it.
That'll do it, I think. How about that?
So where the hell's Jason anyway? What happened to him?
I don't know. Chris, he's on assignment.
He is on assignment.
He's doing a very important research.
That's right. Throwing Bagels International. He's on assignment.
So it shall be revealed when he visits us again.
That's right.
When he comes back, when he returns.
He'll tell us all about it.
Okay. That is in 2 weeks from now. We will have our next episode. But we got blogs, baby. We got blogs until then.
We've got blog Thursday. We've got one coming up Monday as well. So I'll be doing double duty on the blogs.
How about that?
I know. Look at me go.
Look at you. You're going to get a raise, my friend.
Farting out content.
All right. You can find us online, by the way, throwingbagels.com. You can email us, throwingbagelspodcast@gmail.com. Our socials all over the homepage. Let us know. We did some tinkering. We did some tinkering with the colors and stuff. And it looks pretty nice.
It looks excellent. I think it looks great. Definitely let us know in the comments.
Yeah. If you don't like it, well, I don't know.
We're sorry.
Bribe us. Maybe we'll change it.
Yeah. Advertise with us if you want.
Maybe or that. How about that? All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Au revoir.